Park, Bryant Park. Great, how are you? Our hearing's going to be awesome.
Good morning. Once again, this is Governance and Finance. Assemblymember Lara, you're on. Your bill, AB 1350, has support on both sides.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you, Senator. I will definitely be brief. AB 1350 will ensure taxpayers are protected from arbitrary and illegal property tax rates by requiring county auditors to verify that property tax rates increases imposed by local governments to fund pension programs do not exceed the maximum rate authorized under law. Before you is a copy of the amendment language I would like to take that reflect the suggestions in comment number 3 of the committee analysis. As you recall, an audit conducted by the State Controller's Office of the City of Bell in my district found that 3 separate taxes were raised inappropriately on Bell residents and business owners, including $2.9 million in property tax assessments for pension obligations. According to the Controller's findings, the continued misuse and abuse of funds by the City of Bell officials at the time could be attributed to lack of proper checks and balances. Before new taxes are collected, the county auditor controllers require
Excuse me, Assemblymember Lara. I apologize. We have a quorum. Please call the roll.
Wolk?
Here.
Wolk here. Huff? Here. Huff here. DeSaulnier? Fuller? Here. Fuller here. Hancock? Hernandez? Here. Hernandez here. Kehoe? Here. Kehoe here. LaMalfa? Liu?
We have a quorum.
Thank you.
Please continue.
Before new taxes are collected, county auditor and controllers require cities to provide certified results of all tax-related elections, but are not required to verify that the tax rate imposed does not exceed the amount, the authorized amount. AB 1350 also authorizes county auditors to reject the tax increases they find exceed the maximum amount under current law. Again, AB 1350 provides the necessary check over public assets and public funds. With me to testify in support is Alan Fernandez, representing the County of LA. Thank you.
In support.
Madam Chair, Senators Alan Fernandez on behalf of Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors in strong support of the bill. I want to thank the author and the work of the committee on the amendments to make a workable and meaningful taxpayer protection bill, and for those reasons we urge your support of the bill.
All right. Further support?
Madam Chair and members, Matt Seiberling on behalf of the State Association of County Auditors in support of this measure, which will provide administrative oversight and safeguards for public money.
Okay. Further support? Witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, questions from the committee? All right. The bill has been moved. Would you like to close?
I respectfully ask for your vote.
All right. Please call the roll. It's due pass as amended to appropriations.
Wolk?
Aye.
Wolk, aye. Huff? Huff, aye. DeSaulnier? Fuller? Fuller, aye. Hancock? Hernandez? Aye.
Lara.
Kehoe? Aye. Kehoe, aye. LaMalfa? Liu? Hancock, aye.
You have 6 votes. That's enough to pass. It will, however, be left on call.
Great.
For the
Thank
other
you so much,
members.
Senator. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now return to our agenda. We have a special time set at 10:30. We're not there yet. Hopefully we'll get through a lot more. Item number 2, Assemblymember Hill. Property tax exclusion, urgency. Item number 2.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the Chair and committee members, and especially to the staff. Thank you to the staff for your diligent hard work and your patience on this issue. It's greatly appreciated. AB 15 is a special session measure that clarifies the legislature's intent regarding the current exclusion from property tax reassessment for purchases of new active solar energy systems that are sold using financial transactions such as sale-leaseback arrangements or partnership flip structures. With the expansion of solar in California, companies have developed different financing models to make it more affordable to install solar in one's home or business. These transactions have been approved by county assessors throughout the state and enjoy the support of the Board of Equalization members and have led to thousands of solar installations throughout the state, creating green jobs and business growth. Even though these financing arrangements on solar energy systems have been utilizing the property tax exclusion for years under existing law, a property tax staff member at the state's tax agency has argued that there might be ambiguity in the law and it should be clarified. AB 15 provides this clarity and reaffirms existing law so solar projects can continue to receive the tax assessment exclusion that was first adopted by the voters in 1980. This bill is critical to the thousands of solar projects and companies in the state who need certainty as they decide to grow their businesses and create jobs in California. I have some witnesses here today, Madam Chair.
All right. Thank you. There's support on both sides. Witnesses in support.
Tom McMorrow from Manat Phelps & Phillips on behalf of SunEd. I also want to thank the committee and all the members. I think we've met with not only all the members' staff, but at this point all the members about this bill. I will not go into detail out of deference to the committee's schedule. I do want to make one point. The issue arises because of Sarbanes-Oxley. This is an issue where our client has to take an audit reserve that at this point no other solar company has to, but may soon have to take under California law or under federal law because of an auditor listening to a conversation that was about hypothetical situations and the auditor concluding that those hypotheticals might come to reality. So even though BOE worked to address it, even though everything was resolved, the auditor didn't accept it, and the bill was the only solution. Thank you.
All right, in support.
Thank you, Chair Wilk. Sanjay Ranchad with Solar City. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of AB 15. This clarification of the property tax exclusion will assist our company because we also utilize financing structures to lower the cost of solar equipment and enable more California homeowners and businesses to go solar. Solar City utilizes different financing structures from SunEdison. As amended, this bill will ensure a level playing field for all solar companies doing business in the state under Section 73. Thank you.
Good. Further witnesses in support?
Mary Lynch with Constellation Energy. Constellation Energy also supports this bill for all the reasons already mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Further support? Opposition? Hearing none. Questions from the committee? The bill's been moved. Sorry. Welcome.
Hi, Jennifer Tannehill with Aaron Reed and Associates. On behalf of Bright Source Energy, we just wanted to note that we're neutral on the bill. We removed our opposition with the latest amendments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. It's been moved. Please, would you like to close?
Respectfully ask your aye vote. Thank you, members.
Okay, please call the roll.
Wolk.
The motion is due pass. Aye.
Wolk, aye. Huff. Huff, aye. DeSaulnier. Fuller. Fuller, aye. Hancock. Hancock, aye. Hernandez. Hernandez, aye. Kehoe. Kehoe, aye. LaMalfa. LaMalfa, aye. Liu.
You have 7 votes. That's enough to pass. We'll leave it open we'll leave the roll open.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much, members.
Okay. Assemblymember Bell, item number 3. AB 129. Welcome.
Madam Chair and members, AB 129 allows local government after notice and a public hearing to make unpaid administrative fines for property code violations, a special assessment against property. This streamlines the code enforcement activities by allowing local governments to use hearing officers and combine their administrative fines and penalties. This is a much more cost-effective and efficient means to collect administrative fines and penalties. I ask for aye vote and have witnesses.
All right. Witnesses in support?
Lizanne Reynolds, Deputy County Counsel with County of Santa Clara. I've been working with the county for over 10 years on code enforcement. It's a growing problem, and we need more efficient and effective tools because we have fewer resources to do more code enforcement with. The prior governor vetoed this because of due process concerns. There are many due process protections built into the proposed bill. In addition to that, we would have to comply with all state and federal due process constitutional requirements. So I'm happy to detail those if there are any questions.
All right. In support?
Karen Lang on behalf of the California Association of County Treasurers and Tax Collectors in support. This is a great way for them to collect money that's already owed to the county. Thank you.
In support?
And Hugh Bauer on behalf of the City of San Marcos is very nearly similar to a bill that we sponsored last year, and we are also in support.
Okay. Further witnesses in support? Opposition?
Madam Chair, members, good morning. David Wolf here with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We're opposed to the bill, and for the simple reason we just don't believe, especially with the high foreclosures right now in the state of California, that it's appropriate for local governments to increase their fine and fee authority by placing liens against properties for nuisance abatement, which is essentially what the bill does. We just think it's overly broad. And local governments already have the ability to use judicial liens to collect these fines and fees. I think it's an overreach. We'd ask for your no vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further witnesses in opposition? All right. Are there questions from the committee? Okay. The bill has been moved. It is due pass. Please, would you like to close?
Urge an aye vote on this.
All right. The motion is due pass. Please call the roll.
Wolk.
Aye.
Wolk, aye. Huff. Huff, no. DeSaulnier. Fuller. Fuller, no. Hancock. Hancock, aye. Hernandez. Hernandez, aye. Kehoe. Kehoe, aye. LaMalfa. LaMalfa, no. Liu.
You have 4 votes. You need 5. The roll will remain open.
Thank you.
All right, let's do the consent calendar. We have 5 bills. It's been moved. We have 5 bills. AB 468, Assemblymember Smythe. AB 912, Assemblymember Gordon. AB 943, Assemblymember Williams. AB 966, Assemblymember Yamada. And AB 1338, Assemblymember Hernandez. We have a motion. Please call the roll.
Wolk?
Aye.
Wolk, aye. Hef? Hef, aye. DeSaulnier? Fuller? Fuller, aye. Hancock? Hancock, aye. Hernandez? Hernandez? Hernandez, aye. Kehoe? Kehoe, aye. Lamalfa?
Consent.
Lamalfa, aye. Liu?
That has 7 votes. We'll leave that open for the absent members. We're moving on to item number 7. You don't look like item number 7. Assemblymember Gurrell? Smythe? No?
Yes, I'll be presenting on behalf of Mr. Gurrell for...
Oh, that's right. Okay, because you were on the consent
Yes.
calendar. I apologize.
That's quite
Go
all
ahead.
right.
Assemblymember Smythe, on
Thank
behalf
you.
of Assemblymember Gurrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Briefly, here to present AB 561 that our colleague, Mr. Gurrell, and I are working on. First, want to accept the committee amendments to reduce the loan cap to $13 million. We're happy to accept those. And briefly, the goal of the bill is to give the Ventura County Watershed Protection District more flexibility in financing critical capital projects, which will allow the district to proactively prevent flooding and related damages. After Hurricane Katrina, the FEMA identified $209 million worth of flood protection projects needed in order to adequately protect more than the $8 billion of property in Ventura County alone. During these tough times, local governments are requiring assistance in order to address critical infrastructure needs, and this bill would allow Ventura County to begin improvement today to protect against future floods, which would potentially save billions of dollars in public liability. As for an aye vote.
All right. Bill has been moved as amended. Witnesses in support.
Steve Wallach on behalf of the Ventura County Board of Supervisors. We're sponsors of this bill. We feel this allows us to proceed with these projects in a timely and cost-effective manner.
Okay, further support? Opposition? All right. Further questions of the committee? Yes.
Yeah, I do have
Senator
a question
Hancock.
for the author. Isn't this raising a tax or a fee without a vote of the people?
No.
No, I'm asking the author. I know where you stand, Mr. Wallach.
Well, again, as I am presenting the bill on behalf of Mr. Gurrell, so I would have to defer to the witnesses on that because, again, I am presenting on behalf of Mr. Gurrell.
Okay, thank you for presenting on behalf of Mr. Gurrell. And actually, I would move the bill and we'll vote for it. I just want to point out for everyone, this is a tax that will be adopted without a vote of the people. And consistency may be the bugaboo of little minds. I would hope that we'll all keep in mind that as cities and counties face hard times, we have to be flexible and sometimes vote for allowing revenues to increase without some of the strictures that we might want to put on in another time and place.
It was moved by Senator Huff to pass as amended. Please call the roll. Excuse me, would you like to close?
Very good. Appreciate the attention of the committee.
Okay, please call the roll.
Wolk?
Aye.
Wolk, aye. Hef? Hef, aye. DeSaulnier? Fuller? Aye. Fuller, aye. Hancock? Hancock, aye. Hernandez? Hernandez, aye. Kehoe? Kehoe, aye. Lamalfa? Lamalfa, aye. Liu?
You have 7 votes. That's sufficient to pass. We will leave the roll open for
Very good. Thank
absent
you.
members. Assemblymember Gordon, item number 8, AB 612. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senators. First and foremost, under comment number 3 on page 3 of the staff analysis, the committee's consultant suggests a possible amendment to ensure that the borrowing authorized under this bill is secure. The sergeants have the language of an amendment that I would like to offer in response to this comment. And I appreciate Mr. Detweiler working with my office and the district on this language. On the bill in chief, currently, regional park and open space districts can issue promissory notes for the acquisition of land and facilities. This debt is repaid within 20 years. For nearly 40 years, the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District has worked to permanently protect and restore lands and provide opportunities for public recreation and environmental education in my district. However, high real estate prices, coupled with the relatively short supply of remaining open space lands in the Bay Area, present constant challenges to the ability of the district to purchase and preserve land. Responding to this circumstance, this bill would extend the term by 10 years, from 20 to 30, that the district has to repay promissory notes authorized under existing law. It would not increase property taxes paid by property owners, but would provide the district with substantial additional funds to purchase and save open space. Moreover, because the district buys land that the public owns in perpetuity, this change provides a benefit for residents today as well as for future generations. While the debt issuance is not completely without risk, these notes are a secure form of borrowing, even with the extended time frame for repayment. The district has a stable source of revenue and an exceptional credit rating. In addition to the specific language for the Mid-Peninsula Region Open Space District, this bill also clarifies an ambiguity in existing law regarding the maximum interest rate which a regional park or open space district can pay on their promissory notes. This is an issue which has been identified historically by Senate committee staff, and we are addressing it here in this bill. There is no opposition to this measure, and I would respectfully request an aye vote.
All right. In favor, witnesses in support.
Thank you, Madam Chair and distinguished committee members. My name is Steve Abbers, and I'm the General Manager of the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District. And I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to testify today, and especially like to thank Assemblyman Gordon for introducing AB 612 on our behalf. AB 612 would provide the district with much-needed funds to continue to protect land, which is why we were formed. By extending the debt term from 20 to 30 years, this would allow us to use existing property tax revenue approved by the voters in 1972 much more effectively and efficiently, increasing the amount available to purchase vital lands and open space right now before it's out of reach. We gladly accept the amendment suggested by committee staff that requires the district to formally pledge our revenues to repay the indebtedness, while in practice our promissory notes have always been backed by a pledge of the district's share of property tax. The formal declaration suggested by committee staff will make it absolutely clear to investors that the district's debt is payable solely from the pledged revenues. Thank you for your time today and for allowing me to ask for your support for this critical change in our enabling legislation.
Okay. In support.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Rico Mastrodonato at the Trust for Public Land. This is one of the most expensive places in the country to protect open spaces, and this bill simply facilitates more bang for the taxpayer buck. In support.
In support.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Pablo Garza on behalf of the Nature Conservancy. We urge your support. I think this gives the district greater flexibility. Thank you.
Okay, we have support on both sides. Further support?
Good morning. Senator Walk, members of the committee. I'm the Executive Director of the Bay Area Open Space Council. We represent 60 member organizations throughout the 10-county Bay Area, both public and nonprofit organizations protecting and managing land. We are here to express our strong support for AB 612. We believe that it allows the revenue that's necessary to more effectively meet the needs of what the constituents voted for this district, and to save land in perpetuity, both for biological diversity as well as recreational access. Thank you.
Okay, in support.
Bevan Anderson on behalf of San Mateo County in support.
Okay, further support? Come.
Les Shepard on behalf of the Silicon Valley Leadership Group in support. Thank you.
Okay, further support? Opposition? Questions from the committee? Is there a motion? It's been moved. It's to pass as amended. I'm sorry, Senator Fuller, question.
I just had one thing that I wanted to note, that I think we are remaining flexible
this is a tax increase, or actually not an increase, but an extension that allows extra financing to flow into local coffers. And so I just thought it might be nice to point out that we are trying to be flexible together in unusual circumstances for locals today, and I'll be supporting your bill.
Thank you.
And would you like to close?
I would just respectfully ask for an aye vote, and again thank the committee staff.
Okay. To pass as amended is the recommendation. Please call the roll.
Wolk?
Aye.
Wolk, I. Huff? Huff, I. DeSaulnier? Fuller? Fuller, I. Hancock? Hancock, I. Hernandez? Hernandez, I. Kehoe? Kehoe, I. LaMalfa? LaMalfa, I. Liu?
7 votes, that's sufficient, but we will leave it open for the absent members.
Thank you very much.
Assemblymember Hueso, are you here? Yes, welcome. You have 2 bills. We'll start with item 9, AB 654.
Thank you, Senator. And Senators, welcome. Good morning. AB 654 makes several adjustments to the Mills Act program, which is a program intended to preserve historic properties. And this program will require inspections. The whole purpose of this is to ensure that historical resources are preserved. Currently, property owners received up to 75% of their property taxes are reduced in order to meet the objective of preserving historical resources. These adjustments will ensure that these programs are in fact preserved, because currently there isn't really enough of a monitoring or of an effort to ensure that these properties are adequately restored. Oftentimes the programs aren't fully funded, so we don't have regular inspections. We don't have any mechanism from which local government can pursue a compliance on property owners that are given this opportunity to save. As you know, in the state of California, if under CEQA, you're given the opportunity to preserve neighborhood character. So oftentimes people invoke Mills Act to preserve neighborhood character, not necessarily preserve historic resources. On top of that, they get up to 75% property tax breaks. And originally, when this program was adopted, it was an unfunded mandate in local government, and the brunt of the preservation program is paid by local government. And we wanted to come back and make sure that any future enforcement is covered by the administration costs of this program. So we were hoping to receive your support for this today, to give local government a tool to respond to those property owners who do not, in good faith, make an effort to preserve historic properties and can do it in a way that doesn't dip into their local funds. I hope we can count on your support.
Assemblymember Hueso, following the comments of the staff, item number 2 has to do with local discretion with respect to fees. It's my request that you restore. We want to accept, I would like you to accept the amendment to allow local officials so that they still will have the discretion to charge fees. So page 4, line 3, change shall to may.
Yeah, I'll absolutely work with you on that. Absolutely, Senator. I'm not necessarily...
So you're taking the amendment?
Yeah, I'll take the amendment.
Okay, that'll be fine. All right. Witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? Questions from the committee? Senator LaMalfa.
Thank you. Assemblyman, I think it's very important that we have these tools to preserve historical properties, because in those neighborhoods, those mean a lot to the people and to the families that were originally there. But I'm concerned that the bill and the scope of it would actually be a deterrent to some people wanting to enter into these contracts. So I guess my question comes back to you: don't the cities, don't the entities know going in? The city, for example, has the option to enter into the contract or not, so it knows the conditions going in of what fees it'll be able to collect. I would think this bill is going to have more of a chilling effect on doing more of these contracts for the landowner when they can't predict what the city may do, what the fee structure may be. So the city, in order to recover its costs, they're entering into a contract at the same time too, so they should know walking in. It doesn't seem like we need to do this bill. And
I think we absolutely have to do the bill. You'll see that there are probably a stack of articles statewide regarding improprieties, how local government has been handcuffed by certain regulations at the state level that doesn't give them the opportunity to be a little more aggressive in terms of how these programs are administered and enforced. One thing, that I want to again highlight: the principal attraction of a historic preservation application. If somebody applies for this program, they're primarily concerned with preserving neighborhood character. That's their primary objective. Preserving neighborhood character often goes against our own state's goals of smart growth and including, introducing density. So the motivation by property owners to preserve neighborhood character is so great that they often pay, in some instances when cities work very hard to increase regulations in this area, they're still able to meet those to get their final objective, which is to preserve neighborhood character. So I think that's going to continue to happen. But the law doesn't really have provisions that gives local government the opportunity to enforce the law based on people meeting the objective of preserving the historical structure. And oftentimes you can go 20 years without making an improvement to a property. You don't have to paint it. You don't have to restore it. You just have to say that at some point in the future you're going to work to do that. And this at least sets a time frame that gives local government kind of a state-level regulation saying you must come in and do this because otherwise I'm concerned that the political will at the local level is not going to be there to necessarily go and work with their constituents to make sure that they are actually accomplishing historical preservation. This will protect more historical structures in the community, and it's not necessarily going to impair people's opportunity to participate.
I guess I'm the opposite view in that it is a local decision. It's a locally entered into contract that they can write as they see fit on timelines for restoration or upkeep. And being from a landowning family there, when we enter into a Williamson Act contract, which we do it very thoughtfully because that's a long-term deal, which we're comfortable with. But then we talk about other similar type things like conservation easements and more longer-term ones. Then we want to know very well what we're entering into there, and we have to have a very good comfort level with it. Otherwise, we're not going to touch it. So when if the noose is tightening on people's flexibility on it, I'm afraid that the net effect is that less people are going to enter into historical preservations like this, and the net effect is we lose more of these, such as an old family farm home years ago. It might have significant historical. If someone's going to be dictating too much on a timeline that you may not afford, then you may just lose the thing because it isn't in a contract yet. So that's my concerns.
Okay, and those are valid concerns. We've worked with League of Cities on this, so it's not an impingement on local control. This is a state program, so where it is a state program, we have the opportunity to streamline it. We are streamlining it. We are making it more effective, and the whole purpose is to protect and really, truly restore historical structures.
Further questions from the committee? Senator Kehoe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. Wesso. The Soho, California Preservation Foundation and Soho down in San Diego have a pretty detailed letter expressing some concerns. Has the amendments that were presented at the beginning, are they dealing with the concerns in
item 2?
Yes.
Has to do with the local discretion.
In section 2.
Section 2, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it restores the local discretion over the fees.
And then also, there's one other thing, issue of concerns. Okay, I think that's the major part then. All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Did I ask for witnesses in support?
Yes.
No one came up. All right. Or in opposition? No. All right. Okay. Further questions from the committee? All right. Is there a motion?
Move the bill.
All right. As amended. All right. The motion is to pass as amended to appropriations. Would you like to close on this bill?
Just respectfully request an aye vote. Thank you very much.
All right. Please call the roll.
Wolk?
Aye.
Wolk, aye. Huff? No. Huff, no. DeSaulnier? Fuller? No. Fuller, no. Hancock? Hernandez? Aye. Hernandez, aye. Kehoe? Aye. Kehoe, aye. LaMalfa? No. LaMalfa, no. Liu?
You have 3 votes. You need 5. We will leave the roll open for the absent members. Let's move now to the next bill, which is AB 696, item number 10.
Thank you, Madam Chair. AB 696 requires the iBank, the California's infrastructure bank, to set guidelines that determine the economic benefits for project under the Infrastructure Bank's State Revolving Fund program. In addition, as of January 1st, 2013, this bill directs the iBank to approve loans only for projects that provide economic benefits and meet land use criteria. The whole purpose of this bill is for the iBank to invest only in those projects that create jobs in California or that make the most significant attempt to create jobs in California. We've been working with committee staff and accept the amendments as suggested in the analysis. The amendments greatly improve our bill, so we want to thank staff for working with us on that. And the amendments that we accepted will extend the methodology for determining the potential economic benefits to all of the iBank's activities, not just to the State Revolving Loan Fund program. So we have copies of the amendments that have been provided to the Sergeant for distribution, and I we respectfully, very respectfully request an aye vote.
Thank you for working with the committee and accepting those amendments. I should also announce this is the first of 4 bills that will deal with the infrastructure bank this morning. Yours is the first. So, witnesses in support. Witnesses in opposition. Questions from the committee. All right. The bill has been moved as amended to appropriations, and would you like to close?
I just respectfully request an aye vote.
All right. Please call the roll.
Wolk?
Aye.
Wolk, aye. Huff? No. Huff, no. DeSaulnier? Fuller? Fuller, no. Hancock? Hernandez? Aye. Hernandez, aye. Kehoe? Kehoe, aye. LaMalfa? LaMalfa, no. Liu?
You have 3 votes. We will leave the roll open for absent members.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members.
Assemblymember Blumenfield, welcome. Item number 11, also Infrastructure Bank Bill, AB 700.
Yeah, two of your 4 iBank bills I'll be presenting, if that's okay.
And yes, and Assemblymember Perez's bill as well, 1094. Let's start with yours.
I'll start with my bill. It's first off, I want to thank you and the staff for working very closely with us, and I'd like to accept all the amendments, the clarifying amendments that you have, which would basically be consistent to make sure that it's consistent with the iBank's objectives and work plan to make sure that it's consistent with the state. So thank you for that, and we'll accept those. The bill basically removes the infrastructure bank from the Business, Transportation, and Housing Agency and establishes it as a separate and unique agency. It also designates the Director of Finance as the chair of the iBank Governing Board and ensures that the iBank's goals and objectives are consistent with our state environmental, infrastructure, and economic plan. By making these organizational changes, this bill will give the iBank additional discretion and flexibility so it's better able to compete in the capital markets, attract private investment, draw down additional funding, including additional federal funds, and parallel what's happening on the federal level, all the while making sure that we're on track in achieving our infrastructure goals. Really, infrastructure is the key to getting our budget moving, to getting our state moving. This is an important element in that, and with that, I ask for your support.
Witnesses in support? Come forward.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Karen Eggerman. I work I'm a partner in an advisory in Sonoma County, 10 Sleep Advisors. I'm a member of the task force on the Infrastructure and Economic Development Bank. We feel very strongly as a task force that this is the right direction to move the infrastructure bank. It will allow it to be with more independence, more responsive to private investment and leveraging capital. And we also feel that it will be able to take advantage of what's happening at the national level in the proposed legislation for a national infrastructure bank. Thank you.
Okay. Further witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? Questions from the committee? Do I have a motion? Motion is to pass as amended to appropriations. Please, would you like to close?
Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Please call the roll.
Wolk.
Aye.
Wolk, I. Huff. Huff, I. DeSaulnier. Fuller. Fuller, I. Hancock. Hernandez. Hernandez, I. Kehoe. Kehoe, I. LaMalfa. LaMalfa, I. Liu.
You have 6 votes. That's sufficient to pass. We'll leave the roll open, however, for the absent members. And now you're going to present item number 19 on behalf of the Speaker, AB 1094.
This is a very straightforward bill. It is part and parcel of the overall package on iBank bills. It provides an opportunity for the legislative branch to better participate in the critical decisions affecting the state's infrastructure bank, especially as the infrastructure bank takes on these new and expanded responsibilities. It's important that we have a voice there. This is a non-voting voice, but it is a voice nonetheless, and it would add these 2 members onto their board. It also designates the iBank as the primary state agency for the purposes of interacting with the proposed federal infrastructure bank or financing. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
All right. Witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? All right. Questions from the committee? Hearing none, is there a motion? The motion is due pass to appropriations. Been moved. Would you like to close?
Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
All right. Please call the roll.
Wolk.
Aye.
Wolk, I. Huff. Huff, no. DeSaulnier. Fuller. Fuller, no. Hancock. Hernandez. Hernandez, I. Kehoe. Kehoe, I. LaMalfa. LaMalfa, no. Liu.
You have 3 votes. You need 5 to be successful, and we'll leave the roll open.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. The last bill before our special item at 10:30 will be Assemblymember Perez, 893, item 12, also infrastructure bank.
That's right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome.
Senators. This measure is part of a 4-bill package designed to enhance the ability of the iBank, as you've heard already. And this focuses on providing technical assistance to small and rural communities in obtaining financing for infrastructure projects. First, it authorizes the iBank to conduct outreach and technical assistance to small and rural communities. And secondly, it requires that yearly reports also be sent to the appropriate fiscal and policy committees of the legislature that exercise legislative oversight of the iBank. We also have Mr. Hazel Roth, the Executive Director of the California iBank, in case there's any technical questions, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
All right. Witnesses in support? Do we have witnesses in opposition? Questions from the committee? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion? All right. It's been moved to pass to GO. Please call the roll.
Wolk.
Oh, excuse me. Would you like to close?
Respectfully ask for your aye vote, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Wolk.
Aye.
Wolk, I. Huff. DeSaulnier. Fuller. Fuller, I. Hancock. Hernandez. Hernandez, I. Kehoe. Kehoe, I. LaMalfa. LaMalfa, I. Liu.
Has 5 votes. That's sufficient to pass. We'll leave the roll open for the absent members.
Thank you, Madam
All
Chair.
right. I have an announcement about item 18, AB 1087. That has been pulled. It has been pulled at the request of the author. That is Assemblymember Brownlee's bill. 18 has been pulled today. All right. The hour approaching 10:30. We will take a couple minutes just to set up, and we will move to the time set item, a small bill, AB 46, by our speaker. right, we will reconvene, the hour being 10:30. Welcome to the speaker. We have, there are two bills. This is a two-bill package. The first we will hear today, that is AB 46 on the city disincorporation of Vernon. And there is a second bill, AB 781, that will be heard at a subsequent hearing. These bills are to be contingently enacted, if that is the proper terminology. And I will now go to the speaker to affirm that and anything else you wish to say before you begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, we agree that these two bills should be contingently enacted. AB 46 is before us today. AB 46 creates a process to disincorporate
Madam Chair, excuse me, Mr. Speaker. Before we leave the enactment issue, I just would like to hear from the committee that is it customary that both bills would be on the same file because the second bill is coming next week? And does that change the enactment action by the committee today?
No, Senator, it doesn't. It's courtesy to the author to hear bills in which they care to have them heard. And there were authors' amendments offered just now that make this bill contingent on AB 781. 781 is already contingent on 45, so now they 46. Are double embraced.
So we have amendments this morning? Do we have amendments in print?
No, the Speaker just offered authors' amendments to...
Oh, for the enactment.
For the contingent enactment.
Yeah. So when the bill comes up on next week's file, we will, at that time, take an action to do contingent enactment with 46 on today's file? Is it a two-way?
Yes, it is a two-way, but one is already contingently enacted, has language to that effect, and next week, and the amendment will assure that both have the same language.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. So yes, 781 always was contingent upon 46. Today makes 46 also contingent on 781.
Thank you.
AB 46 creates a process to disincorporate any city that has a population of fewer than 150 residents as of January 1st, 2010. Any city that's disincorporated pursuant to this legislation would then become an unincorporated territory of its respective county unless that county board of supervisors voted to allow the city to continue as a city in existence, provided certain conditions are met. First, I would like to reinforce the clarification that we just took with respect to the contingent enactment. And we will discuss AB 781 in the coming weeks, which speaks to many of the other concerns that have been raised. Cities exist to provide services that are essential for the quality of life of a given community. And it's universally understood that the locus of control in that city must reside in its residents. But when a city's population becomes so small, the burden of monitoring government activities falls on few, and therefore no real protection exists. Cities with small populations may face political instability because there are too few residents to support the government. And this contributes, or can contribute, to corruption, voter fraud, and stalled growth. California already requires a minimum population of 500 registered voters in order for a city to be incorporated. This prerequisite is to ensure that enough people will be able to participate in a democratic process upon the creation of a city. A strong, active, and independent electorate is the foundation of any democratic government. In one California city, there is no democratic government because there are no independent electorate. The city of Vernon had a population of 96 residents in 2010. It has 67 registered voters, and about 30 people voted in the last election that the city, in fact, held. From 1980 to 2006, there were no elections held in the city of Vernon, from 1980 to 2006. Most of the city's housing is controlled by the city itself. In fact, all but 4 residents are controlled by the city itself. They are populated with employees of the city, family members of city leaders, business associations, and private employees of city leaders. There is no independent electorate to be heard from. And in fact, the city charter forbids civil service protection for its city workers, so there's not even an independent check from its workforce. Turnover in the council is virtually non-existent. As I said, no elections from 1980 to 2006. In 2006, there was an election because a handful of people moved into the city, established residence, registered to vote, declared themselves as candidates, and began to campaign. The city's response was to hire private investigators to chase them around, condemn their housing, refuse to count ballots, and accuse the candidates of voter fraud. In the end, they hired an outside firm to count the ballots, and the incumbents all won re-election, as you would expect, because of the lack of independent electorate. And in the end, 3 people were indicted on voter fraud. The mayor, who had been mayor for 50 years, his wife, and his son. But this wasn't the first time in which there had been indictments and cases of fraud and other activity in the city. In fact, voting fraud cases go back to 1944. And corruption charges as recent as October as last year with the last city administrator. After the 2006 incident, the mayor stepped down, as did the city administrator, as they awaited trial. In the end, the city administrator began to collect his pension as he awaited his case moving forward. A pension of $509,664.60 a year, over $42,000 a month, a public employee pension, because he asserted that he had worked 6 jobs while he was city administrator and cobbled together a combination of those pensions. The city council, in addition to receiving roughly $60,000 a year for its part-time service, has medical reimbursements that in some cases go as high as $112,000 a year above and beyond their full medical coverage. Recently, the LA Times had a front page story about nepotism in the city. In any other city in this state, there'd be a popular uprising from the electorate, calling for reform, calling for a recall, calling for change. It didn't happen here. And the reason it didn't happen is because, again, there is no independent electorate. So the issue comes before the legislature to figure out the best way to resolve the underlying problems. We, as a legislature, have weighed in on other issues of local corruption. We passed a series of bills last year in response to problems that we saw in Bell and other cities. It was a combination of our action and the local action by the voters in that city where there is an independent electorate. Here, there is no independent electorate to be heard from. The question falls squarely on our shoulders. We have pursued this legislation and in the process heard very real concerns from the business community about the impact of disincorporation on their businesses. Well, Vernon has a very small population. They have a very large workforce, anywhere from 35 to 50,000 people that work there. It truly is part of a powerful economic engine in Southern California, and the business community has raised valid questions about the impacts of disincorporation on their ability to continue to operate and to create the economic activity that they do. And so we have sought to be responsive to that and speak to those in 781, which will be before us in 2 weeks. In 781, we address all the issues that have been raised by the business community. When I say we address them, I'm not saying that we've reached resolution where there's agreement yet, but we've started the process that outlines specific ways in which to respond to each of the concerns that they've raised, and I'd be happy to go into that in detail when 781 is before us in 2 weeks. But the question before us now is how we deal with this unprecedented level of corruption and the absence of an independent electorate to bring reforms on their own behalf. This bill has broad-based support from the County of Los Angeles, the Sheriff of Los Angeles, Common Cause, the Coalition for Clean Air, the Latino Business Chamber of Los Angeles, the National Association of Women Business Owners, many community, civic, and religious organizations, neighboring communities. The mayors of the neighboring communities have all come together and supported this as well. And we have received a broad bipartisan support in the Assembly and broad support here in the Senate with numerous co-authors. And so with that, I will turn it over to my witnesses to add, and then I'll reserve future comments for responses to questions and closing comments. With me to testify are Michael Colantuno of Colantuno Levin, a highly respected law firm specializing in municipal law, then the Los Angeles County Sheriff Lee Baca, Nick Warner representing the County of Los Angeles. We're hoping to have Monsignor John Moretta of Resurrection Church join us. He's in transit as we speak. Derek Cressman of Common Cause, and Jane Pack, the CEO of the National Association of Women Business Owners of Los Angeles, in that order, and we'll try to be as brief as we can, respecting the limits that the chair has put before us in terms of time.
Okay, thank you. The limits that have been agreed to are 15 minutes for presentation, those who are in support of the bill, starting at this point, and then those beyond that will just come forward and identify who they are and who they represent. No further testimony. And then those who are opposed to the bill will have the same opportunity, 15 minutes to present their arguments, and then those who are opposed those further who are opposed will just identify who they are and their organization or anything else, but just identification only. All right, so those in support of the bill.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I want to frame my brief remarks in response to your staff report, which I thought was a helpful way of thinking about the issues. What problem are you solving? You're solving a city that's a rotten borough, in exactly the sense that there were many rotten boroughs in the British Parliament during the Industrial Revolution. A seat of power to be fought over by inside oligarchs with no constituency to hold them accountable. Why is there no constituency?
Can you pull the microphone just a little bit closer? Excuse me. Thank you, ma'am.
Why is there no constituency that can hold these government officials accountable? I'm reminded of the old country western tune, 16 tons. These folks may not owe their soul to the company's store, but they owe their housing to the city and are not in a position to be that independent community that holds government accountable. What alternative solutions are available? You can't defer to a local political process when there isn't one and cannot be one. I don't think you can ask law enforcement to clean this up either. It's not fair to the countywide constituency that's seen cuts in the resources available for law enforcement to ask them to babysit a government that cannot work because it has no constituents. I want to address the array of legal arguments that a very high-priced legal team has been marshaling in the press and elsewhere. Is this special legislation? We think not. But if it were, the Constitution allows special legislation when you're solving a problem that doesn't lend itself to a general solution, and this might be that. Secondly, the fact that we amended our Constitution in 1974 to allow charters to take effect when filed with the Secretary of State rather than filed with the legislature says nothing about your power to incorporate or disincorporate a city. It simply says that the paperwork with respect to charters does not come to the legislature any longer. The opponents of this bill willfully conflate two ideas that are legally distinct: the existence of a charter and the existence of a city. Under our law, no city may incorporate as a charter city. The many million people of the San Fernando Valley confronted the possibility of incorporating as a general law city because the charter must come next. The repeal of a charter does not eliminate the city. The city of Bell is looking hard at repealing a charter that was adopted on the Friday after Thanksgiving by the corrupt folks who ran that little town and were chased out by a real constituency that can hold them honest. When they repeal their charter, if they do, Bell will continue. The notion that you have power to establish uniform laws for incorporation is true, but the Constitution does not say anything about uniform laws regarding disincorporation, and silence is meaningful in a Constitution. I also want to address the broader question that my many friends in local government are asking. I have been an advocate for local control my entire legal career, and I believe that that government which is closest to the people is best. There is no people here to defer to. So I would ask you to ask this question: local control for whom? The oligarchs who've run this place all these years? The voters who are beholden to those oligarchs? Or to the landowners, the business owners, and the employees whose livelihood is at stake? I think those are the real stakeholders who should have meaningful local control. Unfortunately, our Constitution does not allow landowners, businesses, and employees to vote where they don't live for a general purpose government. So how might you empower them? You might empower them in the way the Speaker has proposed. Disincorporate Vernon. Put the legitimate county government, which has a constituency, in charge, but make them appoint a municipal advisory committee and an area planning committee made up of landowners and business owners and employees, and make them consult them. This is a way to restore a functioning local democracy that reflects the real stakeholders in a way that our Constitution permits. Thank you.
Sheriff, welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Senate. I'm delighted to be here with you. Vernon is a very special place, and the history of the County of Los Angeles is an amazing history in itself. And I'm here to speak to you about this initiative, this bill that I think is critical. It certainly has many, many more positive outcomes than what are being currently thought of by those that oppose it. Los Angeles County was incorporated in 1850 when the state of California became a great state. And what's amazing about all the various cities throughout California, but in specific Los Angeles County, is that each of these cities were under a county governance at one point in time in their history. And that's no exception with the city of Vernon. And the platform for Vernon's continued success would not have existed if the County of Los Angeles was not its primary government. So there is a relationship with county governments and independent cities that is undeniable, and that all services are what governments are about. And county government is a regional government and does provide services to the city of Vernon today. The question now is, how can those services continue to prosper? And how can safety services in particular have a continuum of assurance with no interruption of those services? Simply this: the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has been the service provider of public safety since the inception of the county. And as a result, there is a codependence of cooperation of all police agencies within the county. In certain recent cases, certain cities have found themselves in financial distress and have had to relinquish their policing service to the Sheriff's Department under a model that's contracting. The process of contracts is to ensure that there is a voice within the local public that's receiving the service. My assurance to the City of Vernon's business members is that I have not only historical involvement with the City of Vernon by virtue of working for Clarity Meatpacking Company for several years. And as a result of that job, I'm able to proudly say that it was through that work that I was able to progress and eventually become a member of law enforcement, and that I have full familiarity with all the streets and the various traditional buildings that are within that city. That then gives me another impetus for what I'm saying to you today. And that is that as the countywide chief law enforcement officer within that county, within Los Angeles County, that I intend, if this city disincorporates, to assure the police officers who have worked hard and have an excellent police chief, that their jobs will continue. And through a process that the city businesses themselves would want to have some participation in, that I can assure that many of these officers, if perhaps not even all, would remain within the city itself. But let me make something clear about crime, whether it's in Vernon or anywhere else in Los Angeles County. Criminals are not concerned about police departments exclusively when they commit crime. And therefore, the need for coordination amongst all police agencies is my top priority. And I've sent investigators into Vernon, and investigators from Vernon have gone outside of Vernon to follow criminals. The idea that you can do it all alone is an idea of the past. I intend to leverage the effectiveness of the Vernon policing services if this disincorporation occurs. to add more in, not only through the revenue within the city, but the countywide revenue that incorporated cities don't necessarily look for as part of their right to receive. There are countywide crimes that touch the city of Vernon, and the resources to capture those criminals are a combination of Sheriff's Department resources and all the other 40-plus resources that are within police departments. So my point here is that I can assure you the County of Los Angeles is well prepared to assume the responsibilities in a shared manner with the businesses within the city of Vernon. That the city and county itself will be not only enhanced, but I think more can be done as opposed to what is not done. And as a public official, I don't only look for what we've achieved, but I look for also what we can achieve to leverage the dollars of the taxpayers, to enable the proper professionalism to grow, and creativity is the operative word today. Nothing can be done as it's always been done. And the objective of any democracy is to improve itself along the path of history. This is a watershed moment, but I'm very, very fond of the business community that allowed me in the city of Vernon to step forward as I am today. And I consider the success that I've achieved with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department as an attribution to all the various jobs I had that were jobs that gave me the strength of character to say what I'm saying to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have about 5 minutes left.
Great. If I could have Mr. Cressman from Common Cause, and then Mr. Warner. And we'll come to you.
Thank you. I'm Derek Cressman with Common Cause, and I'm truly honored to be here today with the Speaker in support of Assembly Bill 46. This is not a decision that we've taken lightly, and ordinarily we don't believe the solution to corruption is to disincorporate a city. Normally you would count on the voters of that city to take responsibility for their own government. But in Vernon, the voters are not the taxpayers. They're not the workers. They're not the businesses and employers. The 30 voters that the Speaker spoke of have their own fairly narrow financial interest in the operations of the city as employees of that city. So rather than a situation of taxation without representation, in essence, we have representation without taxation in Vernon. It's surreal. And, you know, we've reached a point now where the Supreme Court is telling us that corporations are people, but in Vernon now we've given them their own city. And that's just not tenable. Vernon's an industrial park that's been granted cityhood, and we need industrial parks in California. We need jobs, we need industry, but we don't need them to make their own laws. It takes more than holding city council meetings to be a city. You need an independent electorate, and that's why we support this measure.
Okay, support. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Nick Warner here today on behalf of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. I just want to be very brief. I'd like to attach myself to the comments of the Speaker and the comments of the Sheriff, who I think addressed head-on some of the operational issues and intentions of the county, and urge that I vote for these reasons. Thank you.
Okay, and support.
I am Monsignor John Beretta, the pastor at Resurrection Church, immediately adjacent to the city of Vernon. For 28 years, I've lived there, and before that, I lived in Huntington Park for most of my life. So I have a lot of perspective of the city of Vernon. The status quo simply cannot go. Our most recent battle we had with the city of Vernon was because of their power plant. The city, by its own estimation, needed 25 megawatts. They asked for the granddaddy of megawatts of electric plants. They want 943 megawatts. We fought them for 3 years. We won. Their own estimation was that it was going to be 11 deaths per year. The American Cancer Society said really it should be triple that amount because they did another study of the impact of small particulate matters. And we know that the status quo simply is not fair. It endangers the lives of the other people around there because it's really not a city. So we very much support AB 46. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. In support. Go ahead.
Thank you. The National Association of Women Business Owners absolutely supports Speaker Perez in the development towards better civic and more business-fair municipal governance. After witnessing the multiple levels of corruption in the city of Bell, it is of great concern to the business community how vast the problem actually is and how many more millions of taxpayer dollars are being misused. The economy simply does not have the capacity to sustain any more unknowns, and the business community cannot continue to be overtaxed and overburdened. We lose profit margin, we lose existing and future jobs. It's very simple. We are in support of AB 46. Thank you.
Support.
Madam Chair, members, Alex Esparza on behalf of the City of Los Angeles here in support, and we appreciate the Speaker's efforts on this issue. Thank you.
Okay. Still have a few minutes in
We're
support?
ready to proceed just to the Me Too's, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to have to talk about the Me Too's, but we have a couple minutes left for others who want to come forward right now.
Go.
Chad Silva, Latino Coalition for Healthy California, support.
We have another minute. Further witnesses in support? Welcome.
Yes, I'm Frank Villalobos. I'm representing Mothers of East Los Angeles, who are a group in the Boyle Heights area. We are in support of AB 46.
Okay, thank you. One more, I think is fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Maribel Lopez. I'm coming from the city of Maywood, and I'm in support to AB 46.
Okay, thank you. We have 15 minutes of testimony that is completed. We have 3 rooms of people. What I'm going to suggest is everyone in this particular room who is in support of AB 46, raise your hand so that the committee can see you and take that into account. Now I'm going to ask the sergeants to help me. I would like those who are in support in this room to file out, and I would like those who, within the sound of my voice, with the sergeant's help, from rooms 113 and 3191, if you wish to show your support, you need to come to this room so that the committee can hear you, and we will wait while that occurs. It's not the most ideal situation, but the room is small and we have quite a crowd. So thank you all who came in support of this bill. And please stay in the other rooms. You can watch the proceedings.
Do you have a committee to run? She says, so take that seat.
Again, any of you who are in this room who are in support and raised your hands, please exit so others who are in support can come and register their support as well. All right, sergeants, I assume that we have all those who wish to speak and to indicate their support for the bill in the room at this point. Would those of you who are here in support of AB 46, please raise your hand so the committee can see and take into account your positions. All right. Okay. Sergeants, are there any others in the other rooms that wish to come in? All right. All right. I would like to thank you for coming. You can exit now and go back to the rooms so that you can sit down and be comfortable for the rest of the hearing. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm a little confused. Did you just ask again who is in support of this bill?
In support of the bill.
Okay, so these are not the ones opposed to it?
No, not yet.
Okay,
we're getting there. We'll get there. So, did I say opposed? Oh, go ahead. Are you confused? We have 3 rooms. There are 3 rooms of folks.
There'll be several to express opposition to.
Thank you for coming.
I tried.
All right. Now, yes. All right. We will now move to witnesses in opposition, and I believe those of you that are, we have the 15-minute testimony in opposition. So come forward. Who's first? Yeah.
I'll go first. Is this on? Yeah.
We'll wait to clear the room.
Barry, are you going first? Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Short. Okay, Gene. Thank you. I have organized this. Yes, please. Yeah.
I kind of need something. I'll scoot over so you and Mark can.
Ready?
All right. Who is first? Witnesses in opposition. You have 15 minutes.
Madam Chair and members, Barry Broad on behalf of the Teamsters, the United Food and Commercial Workers, and the Machinists Union. We are very fundamentally opposed to this bill. Others, I'm sure, will talk about the constitutional problems related to it, but that's often not a reason to vote against a bill in the legislature. I mean, sometimes that's a reason to vote for it because you figure somebody else is going to solve the problem for you. Sometimes you budget that way. But in this case, we're talking about a very fundamental question here about whether the legislature has the power to take away home rule, something that's enshrined in the Constitution based on, as the gentleman lawyer that testified in favor said, there needs to be a sort of a uniform standard. There is no standard operating in this room. There's an assertion, not a standard, and that's why it's constitutionally suspect. Beyond that, Vernon is a place with 30% union density. The 3 unions that I represent probably represent 80% of the unionized workers in Vernon. The city is an industrial city, and as such, as you've heard today, it has very good municipal services. It has a great police department. It has a great fire department. The city works very efficiently. The city services are very honest. There's been questions raised about whether this city is run by an oligarchy or was run by an oligarchy, and of course we know that Los Angeles was run by the Chandlers, and Oakland was run by the Nolans. So cities run as oligarchies is nothing new. That doesn't mean it's the paragon of democracy, but it isn't the paragon of corruption either. And in this case, the question is it not possible to reform the city of Vernon? And the assertion of the speaker is that it is impossible. And I would posit that that's simply not the case. That the small number of residents of the city is not fundamentally an issue of democracy, since the paragon of democracy, if there is one, is town government on the East Coast all through New England, which we consider fabulous in towns of 50 or 60 or 100 people. So the issue is not the size. So what is the issue? Well, The residents live in houses owned by the city or controlled by the city. Is there no solution to that, such as sell the houses? Sell the houses? If the city's population is too small, can't the city build more houses? This legislature, various governments have taken on the issue of municipal corruption in situations where the police are killing people and are totally corrupt, as in Los Angeles in the 1930s, which was arguably the most corrupt city in the United States for decades before it was reformed. There's no one has suggested that the city services are visited by graft or corruption or anything of the sort. In fact, they're so good that everybody is talking about all the ways they can maintain them. The cops will all still be there. The city workers will all be there. The local city government will be there. The only thing that won't be there is the city council. Instead, what will be there is arguably the most distant and difficult local government in the whole United States, the county of Los Angeles. Not a place that's easy for anyone to deal with because the districts are enormous, and frankly, I don't know how many incumbents have been defeated running for office as county supervisors in Los Angeles in the last 100 years, but I would guess it's about the same number as Vernon, to be honest about all this. So the fact of the matter is, what should be done first here, before we send this whole place into a tiz, is to try to reform the city government and see whether it works. Two employers, this is a fact, two employers, union employers, good union employers of 50 years, are now leaving because of the uncertainty. They have announced that they are leaving. We are losing those jobs over this bill. How many more will we lose in this experiment, in whatever, in testing the limits of the power of the legislature? I think this is an opportunity that's missed, and it's an opportunity to do this right. We urge a no vote. Thank you.
In opposition?
My name is
Welcome.
Gene Urban. I'm going to try to coordinate the remaining witnesses. I'm just going to comment very briefly on the legality. We believe it's unconstitutional, profoundly unconstitutional, for two reasons. It's special legislation that's been acknowledged. This is not a law of general application. It identifies one city and only one city. All the testimony is about one city. So at least all the testimony has been about one city. It's punitive, as you heard some of the witnesses testify. It's about the power plant that was 8 to 10 years ago. It's meant to dismember and disincorporate a single city. You do not have that authority. That authority has been removed from you. Why? Because 150 years ago, this is exactly the kind of pernicious practice that was commonplace in Sacramento, where the state disincorporated and incorporated cities over the objections and frequently without the consultation of local citizens. The long sweep of the refinement and amendment of the Constitution clearly, unequivocally demonstrates you do not have this authority. And for good reasons, as evidenced by today. It appears that the institution is incapable of resisting this type of proposal. It also eviscerates the home rule doctrine. You cannot, by statutory fiat, revoke the charter and disincorporate a charter city. The notion that disincorporation is not tantamount to revocation of the charter is absurd. So it's clearly an illegal act on several counts. 781, which we will apparently discuss in 2 weeks, is equally constitutionally flawed and statutorily flawed. It does not work as a surrogate government. If the purpose is to promote transparency and accountability, you're replacing one government with multiple layers of government. It compounds the problem. It doesn't clarify. Lastly, the rationale for the bill has changed over time. Originally it was corruption, then it was we don't have the attributes of municipality, now we have a small electorate. The electorate was less than it is now in 1980. You can look up the census data. This is not a secret. Vernon has had a small electorate for a while. It also doesn't have any parks. That might be a basis for disincorporation. Doesn't have any museums, no grocery stores. It's different. It's an anomaly. Stipulated. It's different. It's also highly, highly successful. And This is Mark Whitworth. He's the CEO, CAO of the city, also the fire chief, for which he receives one salary. Just to dispense with that question, because I know Senator DeSaulnier was burning to ask that question. And then we have a couple business owners and a representative of some organized labor. Thank you, Mark. You don't have very long.
Okay.
Welcome.
Madam Chair and members, I'm Mark Whitworth. I've served the city of Vernon for 23 years. In those 23 years, mostly in the fire department. In the last year, I've been the city administrator. The first thing I asked the council was, if I'm to assume this responsibility, you will put a 0 in the line for the budget for a city administrator. You are not to adjust my salary up. I will receive the same salary, and it has been that way ever since. So they smiled. They were happy. Vernon is a unique city. The city was created as a haven in 1905 for businesses and their workers. Vernon is LA County's home for industrial, manufacturing, and processing businesses. It was from its inception. In the original documents, the second line says, this place is to be created for businesses. If you want to live here, that's your choice. 5 square miles, 125 miles of track. There, all the Alameda Corridor comes up and terminates up in the rail yards. By design, the city was created as an industrial center, and it served that purpose extremely well. Vernon attracts new businesses and creates new jobs by keeping taxes low, maintaining a safe environment, and providing businesses with reliable, affordable resources. Our response times, police and fire, less than 3 minutes. 4 fire stations in 5 square miles. Disincorporated, I don't know if you'll get that same service. It's critical infrastructure. It's rail yards. It's chemical factories. It's meat processing plants. It's clothing industry. They demand a very high level of service. That's why you don't have parks. You have a high level of safety service, and it's done an outstanding job, and I'm proud to be part of that. In LA County, no LA County city can match Vernon's economic influence and earning power. It's just, we have 55,000 employees, 1,800 companies. They affect indirectly another 50,000 jobs outside of that city of Vernon. So we have cities with populations of 50, 60,000. We're talking 55,000 jobs that go back to the surrounding communities and support those surrounding communities with people that make their living and support their families. We're impacting millions of people. There is no doubt. The earning wages of the employees in the city, $4.5 billion with a B in 5 square miles. Does it impact the region? You bet it does. Okay. What I would like to say is Vernon is not perfect. We've faced many challenges. I have addressed those challenges. I asked Mr. John Vandekamp to come in. He brought in a city manager of Pasadena who is very prominent with the league, and we sat down weekly and addressed each of these issues. I've enacted through the council reforms that address every concern from the Speaker's office to the local businesses to the surrounding communities. I want a chance to make this work. This year, I've devoted all my time to taking care of those issues, and I really believe that it's working. Vernon does work. In my last statement, I'd just like to say that in asking out everyone's opinion, they've clearly stated through some of the highest profile law firms that this is strictly, it's unconstitutional. If we need to, do we take it to the people to vote on? I'm for it. Let's take it to the people to vote on. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. You have about 3 minutes left, so in opposition.
Yeah, in opposition. I'm Pat Lavin. I'm an IBEW journeyman lineman. I'm also a veteran of the United States Marine Corps 1969 to 72. I am the business manager, financial secretary of IBEW 47, which represents 8,200 members throughout Southern California and Nevada. I'm also the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers 7th District IEC member on the council in Washington, D.C., representing 10 states, 147 locals, and 153,000 members of the IBEW throughout those 10 states. And I'm also here talking on behalf of my brothers in the Los Angeles building trades that represent 40 locals of various types in the county of Los Angeles and 140,000 members of those building trades. This bill is not about corruption. This bill is about somebody wanting something that belongs to somebody else. If it was about corruption, I'd be sitting here telling you lions and tigers and bears, oh my. We have corrupt people running around Vernon, and they need to go to jail. I'm sure that the Assembly, the Governor, the Attorney General, the good Speaker here, the Senate, and the good sheriff that talked earlier have laws and statutes on the books to put corrupt people in jail. For us, this bill is about jobs. We've represented those people in the city of Vernon before and after the city owned that utility. Since 1988 is when they eminent domain that off the Edison system. I worked in that city at the Edison when it was on the Edison system, so I know the city well and I know how it operates. Our guys are the guys that keep your lights on at night, the ones that go out in the rain and the snow and the crap and other things to keep your lights on at night. So this job is not about, this bill is not about corruption. This bill is just about somebody wanting something that belongs to someone else. I would urge you to vote no on the bill because if those jobs, like my brother said before, leave the state of California, 50, 60, whatever thousand number of jobs leave the state of California, then everybody sitting in this room that is in support of this bill and has anything to do with it getting through should be absolutely ashamed with themselves. Thank you.
Okay, there's very little time left. I urge you to be concise in opposition.
Okay, my name is Jose Gaviña, and pardon my accent, I'm Cuban. We came out of Cuba in 1960 when Castro took over and we lost our business there. We ended up in Vernon, and we started in a very small building, about 1,100 square foot building in the city of Vernon. And Vernon has been very good to us in the last few years. From that building, we moved to several different ones, and about 8 years ago, we moved to a brand new building, 240,000 square foot. The pass of Bill AB 46 would be really detrimental for our company because we won't be able to compete with other coffee roaster companies that are out of state. Last year, we lost the business to we were suppliers for 7-Eleven, and that business went away because we were not able to compete. And now we supply also McDonald's, everything west of Texas, and if that happens, we probably will lose some more employees. We have 263 employees, and we had 300 before. This is my niece.
You have very little time left, so if you have other speakers, you have to be brief.
My name is Anna Valls. I'm a student as well as an employee at Gaviña, and should AB 46 pass, the fifth generation, I'm the fourth, of coffee roasters of Gaviña Gourmet Coffees will have to move. Unfortunately, we'll have to settle somewhere else where to giant exodus from Cuba to wherever business may lead us. I urge you to vote no. Thank you.
All right, there's very little time.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Angie Way on behalf of the California Labor Federation, and we've taken an opposed unless amended position on AB 46. We know and appreciate the Speaker's commitment to keep the jobs in Vernon. We appreciate the first steps he's taken in the first round of amendments to AB 781. Unfortunately, at this time, we think that those amendments fall short to be able to offer the long-term stability that's needed for our members who work in Vernon and the employers who employ them there. We've offered up, yes, ma'am. We've offered up concepts and ideas to both fight the corruption as well as make Vernon a more robust place for workers to earn their livings. So far, we've fallen short. We will continue to work with the Speaker to try and develop a proposal that maintains the stability that's needed to maintain those good union jobs. We appreciate this time.
We have
Ask for your vote.
30 seconds. I suggest
My name is
the
Peter
four of you are
Porcelli.
it.
I'm with U.S. Growers Cold Storage. In the facilities we own and operate, we have over 1,000 employees. All three unions, UFCW, Teamsters, engineers, we oppose. It's killing us now. I've got people that aren't moving into the town now because of this bill.
Sir.
Willard Yamaguchi, interim city attorney for the city of Vernon. All I ask is that, and thank you, Madam Chairman, all we ask is that you focus on what's important at this time. You've already heard about the city. I say focus on the budget. Give us a budget. Give the people of California what they ask for in terms of funding of public education. You got the largest high school graduating class that's graduating. You've cut back. What's the response? You've cut back on funding for state colleges, cut back on classes, cut back on class offerings. where are these kids going to go? Those kids that are sitting in that other room are going to be sitting next year with nowhere to go. The schools are impacted.
Madam Chair, Scott Wetch on behalf of the State Association of Electrical Workers and the California Coalition of Utility Employees for the reasons stated before in opposition. Thank you.
Scott Riggs, City of Vernon, Public Works Superintendent. I did want everybody to know that the City of Vernon was recently voted by the Los Angeles Economic Development Corporation as one of the best places to do business. This is no accident. It should also be known that we have amongst the lowest water and utility rates. So the importance of retaining Vernon is of paramount importance.
I'm sorry, we're finished with opposition.
Okay, and I just wanted to urge a no vote on AB 46. Thank you.
Okay, now the time is up. I would like all those who are opposed to AB 46, please raise your hand so the committee can see you. Okay, and let me ask the sergeants, do we have others in 113 or 3191? You're very efficient. Thank you. All right, those of you who are standing, if you'd like to go to the other rooms and sit back and relax and watch the rest of the hearing, it's probably an appropriate thing to do. I would like to ask the witnesses who testified for and against to please stay here. Now the committee, do you have questions? Comments. I would like to start.
May I have my principal co-author join me at the...
Oh, yes, absolutely. Assemblymember Smythe, I don't think you were here.
Correct. He'll help in the close if that's... Okay.
I know. Of course you're welcome to sit here. All right, let me ask a threshold question here. As to the constitutionality, we'll let the lawyers fight it out. It's great. It's full employment for lawyers. I like that. Moving on to what I think should be a major concern of the committee. We have a process, a LAFCO process for disincorporation. You have the support of the LA County Board of Supervisors. You have the support of the surrounding cities. The way I remember LAFCO, that's like, there it is, it's done. Tell me why you've chosen to do it this way as opposed to the LAFCO process.
Actually, the LAFCO process has an additional step, and that's a vote of the citizenry there. And one of the threshold issues, as we've said actually consistently from the beginning, is that there is no independent electorate to play that role. The fact that you have such a small population is part of the question. The second part of the question is the fact that that small populace is dependent on the city directly or indirectly, through the subsidized housing, through their personal relationships, through their business relationships, through their employment. There is no independent electorate to express itself. And that's why we're bringing a process that mirrors the LAFCO process, but puts the legislature in place to make these decisions, given the absence of an independent electorate. References have been made to the constitutionality, and in the end, that's something for the courts to adjudicate. But I do want to share with the committee, if I may, have the sergeants bring it up to the committee members, a letter from the Dean and Distinguished Professor of Law from UC Irvine, Professor Erwin Chemerinsky, expressing his view that this legislation is absolutely constitutional. I'll leave it for your perusal at a future time, but that question will obviously properly be before others.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Senator Huff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can't help but notice there's thoughtful, intelligent people on both sides of this situation, and so I would just like to preface my comments in that context, and I will hopefully offer some thoughtful and intelligent questions and comments myself. The former dean of Stanford School of Law said the bill is unconstitutional, and you call it the Attorney Employment Act or something of 2011, and that's probably true. Even within your own testimony, you had an attorney speaking about whether or not it hit the issue, and I noticed that he had qualifying comments in there. It may, it might, and I think that's part of the structure, and it will be determined by the attorneys. You say this bill is about rooting out corruption. You said that size can contribute to corruption in your opening comments, Mr. Speaker. Don't we already have laws that address how you take care of corruption in cities?
Obviously, they've been ineffective when you look at the pattern of corruption that has quite frankly existed for generations here. When you look at the pattern of indictments that go back as far as 1944 and as recent as October of last year, when you look at the plea agreement that was reached within the last few months over activities in the city, there is a pattern. And quite frankly, I think there's a lot more that is ongoing. There are ongoing investigations. But at a certain point, when you see a pattern of activity that continues to replicate itself without correction, it raises other sets of questions. And I don't think that it's appropriate for us to let that pattern fall on deaf ears here. I understand that there's disagreement, and I think you were right in characterizing it as a reasoned disagreement over the question. The question is before each of you as members of the committee, whether you agree with the pathway that I suggest or whether you don't. And that's why I bring the bill before you for your consideration.
And I would just say that it was also brought out in testimony, I think it was you, that as recently as 2006, three people were indicted on voter fraud, which demonstrates that there is a method to root out corruption. Former Attorney General John Van de Kamp written us I believe that's what his role was, a letter saying, let the reforms play out before you kill the city. Aren't there other cities in the state that are making headlines with corruption, and why are we not including them?
Two things. With respect to other cities where we see a pattern of corruption, we are and we should continue to address those issues. The legislature passed a number of bills last year. The Senate passed others that didn't pass the Senate. The Assembly passed others that didn't pass the Senate along that subject matter. And I think we should continue to look at broad-based refinement. There is a different set of circumstances here. And again, I go back to the fact that there is no independent electorate to express itself and to be the public voice to demand the reform within the city. The reference that you made with respect to 2006, that was an indictment of a person who was the mayor for 50 years, his wife and his son. And it only came after they tried to thwart the efforts of other individuals to run for office. It is important to note that of the 5 members of the City Council of the City of Vernon, only one of them achieved that office through election. That election was held in the mid-1970s. The mid-1970s. The other members of the City Council all assumed office through appointment when there was a vacancy. There is no pattern of democracy through election and assumption of office, and there is no independent electorate. That's why the question is before us.
Sounds a lot like a service club in that regard. Some of the reforms that have taken place, though, they've approved a package that includes pay cuts for council members, salary caps, term limits. Those hit to the heart of some of the abuses that you're talking about. And the city administrator has talked about coming in and trying to reform, and I believe they're really doing that. And so I think there's a strong case to be made for what John Van de Kamp has written about let the reforms play out. Now, that's just my position at this point. But another clarifying question, does this bill, dissolve any city with less than 150 residents?
I'm sorry, your question is, does it dissolve any city? Yeah. The bill absolutely dissolves any city with less than 150 residents. The opponents of the bill have accurately described it as a circumstance that, while there is a standard in place, there is only one city in California that does meet that standard. So that is an absolutely accurate characterization of both the substance and the impact of the bill. With respect to the reforms that have been made, quite frankly, none of those reforms were even initiated until we began the process of this legislation, and none of them have any external enforcement. They're self-imposed, and quite frankly, they can be removed at any point by the same people who passed them. With respect to the term limits, I don't believe they take effect for 10 years. With respect to the pay cuts that the council member voted on themselves, they don't take effect until the end of their term of office. I'm incorrect in that?
July.
I stand corrected. But all of these can be unilaterally changed once the attention and the focus is no longer on the city.
Our committee analysis identified a handful of other cities that are low population, including Amador, 185, Sand City at 334, Trinidad, 366, City of Industry, which I represent, 480, as other cities with small populations. If these cities should drop below 150, does your bill capture them as well?
It does not. The standard of 150 is a fixed standard at a fixed date and time. They were above the threshold at that fixed date and time.
That does beg the question then, if 150 is a significant standard or threshold, why is it not inclusive for any city that drops below 150?
If that is an amendment that you'd like to put forward, I'd be happy to consider it.
It is not, but I'm just curious about the principle that you're citing for why this has to happen. Do you believe this puts jobs in Vernon at risk?
I think that the business community has legitimate concerns about stability, about predictability of environment, and that's why if you look at the language in AB 781, we go to great extents to respond to each of the underlying concerns that they've raised. The language has only been in print for a few days. We want to let them and others be able to live with that language, address any deficiencies they may see in that language. But it was an absolute thorough effort to try to address issues of consistency of land use, of predictability of energy prices, of predictability of the process by which permits are granted in an expedited manner, the lower rates of taxing and fees that exist in the city. Each of the substantive issues that impact the businesses and employment that exist, we attempt to address in 781. If businesses in the city, if members of the committee find ways in which we can refine that, improve it, create greater predictability and security for those businesses, I'm absolutely willing to look at taking actions along those directions in AB 781, and I'm sure we'll have a thorough conversation about that in 2 weeks.
I'm glad you brought up AB 781, something Senator Kehoe addressed earlier. It sounds like a good amendment that you put on. If I understand, it's kind of double joined or something now. I think that's a step in the right direction. It would actually have been helpful to look at the two in the context. So although we're conditioned on each other, we don't get the luxury today as we're voting on it to look at how that actually does try to address this whole job preservation and that you intend to do in that bill. You mentioned something a little bit ago about how Vernon has done these reforms now, and then they could turn around, turn the clock back later on when nobody is looking. Should AB 781 pass, what's to keep the legislature from turning around and undoing that when nobody's looking a year or two down the road?
I think you see the substantive debate that's going on here, which is in high contrast to the experience that we've seen there. And you see a broad-based representation of people throughout the state of California weighing the impacts. I understand that people may not like the impact of the legislation. That still is a deliberative process that we have both the responsibility to engage in and the need to do. So you can't tie future legislative action, but the fact that we have such a broad-based legislature speaks to that. Now, the reality is that there may be changes in the future that everybody in the business community seeks to find in the ongoing governance, and we don't want to foreclose the ability for us to go and address those issues as well.
That's the end of my question. Just a few comments. I do find it ironic there's no rush to disincorporate Bell or some of the other cities that have severe corruption. I would speculate that it probably does have to do with this as a city that is doing well, that has created jobs, that has done a good job. At some point, it had 1,300 residents, but it was designed as a city for business. And indeed, I believe it has become the economic engine for that region. Now there may be some negative byproducts in neighboring communities, which may help drive this wish to absorb it into the bigger context of the LA County. And while I have a good relationship with a few of the members of LA County, I'm not sure that their leadership is going to keep those jobs there. Certainly Governor Perry has made a pitch that if the businesses feel uncomfortable in a new regulatory climate or a new management, they're welcome in Texas. And I can't help but note that even though Texas is a border state with many similarities to California, they have an 8% unemployment rate while we have a 12%. So I'm concerned that he might actually be successful in pulling some of the 1,800 businesses or 50,000 jobs that are in this city away from our region into someplace else. I think the most troubling thing about this, and I think you've made a very good case, I think you made the best case you could for why it should be disincorporated. And corruption at any level of government is abhorrent. Certainly, a small number of people can make reasoned decisions. The Board of Supervisors for LA County is 5 people. We run the state with 120. We are accountable to the people, which is a larger population. But nevertheless, I think that we're going down a slippery slope when we, the legislature, start choosing winners and losers. And it may be Vernon this year. It may be Bell next year, although I doubt it. But it could be another city that's doing well. And all they did was they took the rules that we set up for them. They formed a charter. They've run themselves. They've created jobs. And in so doing, they've become a business magnet. And a lot of people don't like to live right next to businesses. But they live in other communities that come in and work there, and that's what we've created. So you're right. It's not a normal city as like I was on the city council in a bedroom community. We would have loved to have some of the economic stability, but we really wouldn't want to have a rendering plant in the city of Diamond Bar. That's just the reality. But we're thankful there's one in the region because then they don't have to haul the carcasses off from the slaughtering plants to someplace else to take care of that and clog our freeways that much more. So, I think it is a thoughtful bill. I disagree with where you're going with it, and I can't support it today.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Hancock, and then Senator Kehoe.
Thank you. I actually had 2 questions. I think that the constitutional issues, and we've heard compelling testimony on both sides of that, will probably be decided in court if it comes to that. But the whole notion of whether you have a viable electorate, it is very interesting to me. Are there any other cities, Mr. Speaker, or anybody that anybody knows of that have not had an election since 2006 and have had that pattern of no elections at all, but people simply filling positions by appointment?
None that I'm aware of.
You know of one?
When we appeared in front of the League of California Cities just last week, they testified that they're aware of cities where there have been no elections in recent years. That they're small cities, sometimes bedroom communities, sometimes others. There have been no elections. It's not uncommon to fill councils by appointment.
Okay, I have never heard of this, frankly. I find it pretty disturbing. And I just wondered how do you avoid an election? In an election year, even if you filled positions, we had some scandals, more or less, around some of our special districts about 20 years ago because they always filled the resigning member's position by appointment and then that person ran as an incumbent. But the person did have to run as an incumbent.
May I address that? We do the entire process with a third party, unbiased, that professionally handles elections. And they come in and yearly we go through the process of notifying and take in applications of those that wish to run. This last time we had 2 people take papers out. One of the Ibarras who own their own house, and then also there was another gentleman that was in one of the apartments. They chose not to file those papers, but we go through the process every year because our council, we rotate on a 5-year basis, so every year a new seat comes up.
Okay. You don't have to have an election because nobody files.
If no one is running against the incumbent, then process is they are reappointed if they are interested in holding that post.
Okay. And so that's where I see the problem of the small size and the family connections, quite frankly, which I think makes a very compelling case for the speaker's argument. You know, Mr. Huff said it's sort of like a service club. Well, actually, service club people don't get paid. It's really more like a board of directors of an industrial park, if you will. And when you look at the huge salaries that really rocked the state of California, it seems more like a board of directors with a lot of self-dealing, frankly. And how does one in that situation actually have an election? But I am concerned about the impact on labor and on business. I did receive several calls from labor outlining some of their concerns. And when I did follow up with your office, Mr. Speaker, they did refer me to AB 718.
781.
781. Okay. Yeah, they referred me to the bill that will be